See, I'm back. But you all read the title, you know exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the new pressure update, the Raveyard, and what I personally thought about it. I want to get one thing out of the way. First off, I thought this update was fine. I thought it was fun to play through. I even played through it a few times, uploaded a video about it. It was fun to play through. But it doesn't mean that it's like perfect or anything. There are still a few things that could be fixed, but I want to get on to a few things that I did think were good about this. If I'm going to talk about this, I have to kind of explain what the Raveyard is. The Raveyard was the Halloween update for pressure that added in a completely different, like, I guess, mission, quote unquote, where you'd go to an island and you basically had to shut down a party. And in that entire place, I think it was around 50 doors or so just half of what the normal game is, but it kind of consisted of just 4 main sections, and I want to be talking about those sections separately because, well, they're separate. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get started. For the first section, you get chased by a skeleton guard who's basically like the bouncer of the party. I forgot what his name is, that's my fault. But overall, this section is fine. I don't think that it's as good as it could be, just because as long as you're simply walking, you outrun him. I wish they kind of would have incorporated something where he can catch up to you, so there is some kind of worry, but it seems like half the time you can basically outwalk him if you simply just, keep going. I mean, I guess if you're trying to collect stuff, then that would be a problem. But other than that, he doesn't really seem like that big of a problem. I will say, though, the music in this section is pretty good, but at some point, I wanted to turn it down, or turn it down, but I couldn't because I was in the middle of a goddamn chase. But you know what? It's whatever. Yeah, overall, pretty good section. Enjoyed it, and yeah, that's about all I really have to say. Next up is like the water snake bone thing. I don't know. It's something. But I think it runs into the exact same problem again, where you could simply outwalk it. And yes, I say outwalk it because that's all you have to do. Granted, do I still like the atmosphere and how this section is done? Yes, but like I said, I really wish there would have been more of a challenge, because I feel like half the time you can just outwalk them. It's not really that big of a challenge. When I played with my brother, I realized that he had a dash attack, and I didn't even experience that my first playthrough. In fact, any of my first playthroughs, I didn't experience that, which I was sitting there like, what? Yeah, no, he has a dash attack, but I simply walked faster than him and he couldn't catch up, so yeah. Like I said, I really do like this section for the most part. I think the little bar that they added in the middle of it, when you go stop there and you just see him waiting outside, that's one of the most terrifying things ever. But I do think that this section is pretty fun. I just wish they would make the bosses a little bit harder, or like the enemies a little bit harder, because like I said, you could easily outrun them. If he went faster than you, then you'd have to utilize the platforms that it gives you, where you have to step on top of them, wait for him to leave. I think they could have incorporated that more. But since they basically made them they made them slower than you, so you could just quite literally outwalk them. But now we're going to get on to personally my favorite section, and the one section I think is just obviously the best here, and that is the statue section, or the weeping angel section. This entire section is pitch black. You get a shake flashlight and you have to make your way basically through hell to get to the other side. A completely pitch black room with things that move in the dark. It is terrifying. I loved and hated this room, but it's such a good room, and I love this concept. Putting someone in a completely dark room and they can hear the movement but they can't see it, that is so perfect. And I said this to, I think, my brother again. I said they should add this into the main game in some sort of way. Incorporate it in the little vine guys that grow in the biodome. That'd be pretty cool. Or the little stone statues that are just standing around in places. I think if they were to add that kind of feature to them, where if you're not directly looking at them, then they can start moving, I think that'd be a really cool update that they could add without having to without having to rework something in the game already. But overall, this section gets so messed up so fast, because something that once again my brother and I realized is that none of those statues despawn either, so there will always be at least 15 on your ass at all times, which is terrifying. That is terrifying. But yeah, overall, this is probably my favorite section and probably the best one out of this entire update. Like I said, I do like this update for the most part, but this section in particular sold me the best, just because it was so much fun to play through. And even when you revisit it, I think it's still a lot of fun. But like I said, just my opinion. And now we move on to the last section. I don't think that the last section was bad, but I also don't really, it's a repeat of the first section essentially. You're running from the bouncer and you just have to make it to the end. That's it. So basically everything I said in the first section applies here, except for there's simply just an extra bouncer now, and that's it. But this section, it's the exact same. Like, what do you want me to say about this? What I can say instead to replace this section is I really like the design of the massive skeleton that's having the actual rave itself. I think he's pretty cool. But other than that though, there's just this entire section just isn't really. It doesn't add anything. It adds an extra bouncer to chase after you, and that's it. Which makes it harder. Don't get me wrong, but it's just why. But also, I think the ending is pretty alright, I guess. There isn't really a final, like, thing that you have to do. It's more of you run up a tower really quickly, and then you pull a lever, and that's it. That's the entire game right there. Which is fine. Like I said, this is a really good just add-on, an extra mission, basically, because it's not a part of the main game. I'm not going to say that this should be just as good as the main game Pressure, because it shouldn't be. There's, like, come on, Pressure was built up on years, and I don't know how long this was in development for, but like I said, it's fine for what it is. It's supposed to be an add-on for Halloween, which is what I personally like. But if I were to rank the section from best to worst, it'd probably be, obviously, Weeping Angels, then probably the Bouncers, both sections. You can interchange them, it doesn't really matter, and then the Skelebone thing on the bottom, water snake, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And that's just because the statues is by far the most unique section. The bouncers aren't as bad to deal with, and they're somewhat fun because they propose a challenge. And then the last one, of course, the fucking bone snake. He's just not hard to go against if you just outwalk him. When you're playing in multiplayer, everyone has a completely different, they have different bouncers, and they also have different snakes as well. The only thing that people share, I'm pretty sure, in this section is like the statues, and that's it. Other than those, everyone has their own unique stuff that's chasing them. I would review the entire haunt section about like how you could explore the island and whatnot, but I maybe played that for 5 minutes and then kind of just dropped it because it basically just said, oh, take a photo. Why? I don't know. Regardless though, I did enjoy this update a lot, and I think that it's worth at least giving some kind of a try. But overall, I do obviously think that the main game Pressure is better. This entire update reminded me of Doors, because in Pressure you have to be listening a lot. You have to be like always be observant and whatnot. Well, in Doors it's not as like that. But for this update, it definitely seemed like you had to just be outrunning everything rather than like trying to meticulously get through it. And I think that's fine to a degree, but it didn't remind me of Pressure. It reminded me more of Doors, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, overall, that's the entire update right there. I mean, there's not really much else to go over. Like I said, the entire haunt section, it's just you take a photo of whatever. I don't know. It wasn't worth it though. Yeah, overall, pretty solid update. I enjoyed it, I guess. And yeah, that's basically all I got for you guys. I've been Night Guy, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Peace.